The morning sun rose slowly over the rolling hills, turning the tall grass into a river of gold. The ranch was quiet except for the sound of roosters crowing in the distance and the soft clatter of cows moving in their pen. Tom tied his boots firmly and adjusted his hat before heading toward the barn. His little sister Lily followed behind, holding a small basket with eggs they had collected that morning. Grandpa Joe was already outside, leaning on his sturdy wooden cane. His hat was tipped just slightly forward, casting a shadow over his kind, sharp eyes. He watched the horizon with a sense of calm, but his mind was alert. "Good morning, you two," he said in his deep, steady voice. "Let's make sure everything is ready before the sun climbs too high." Tom nodded, feeling proud that he was trusted to help. "Yes, Grandpa. We'll finish feeding the chickens and check the water tanks." Lily skipped beside him, humming a little tune as she went. The ranch had been in their family for generations. Wide fields, old barns, and a few hidden trails made it a place full of memories and stories. Tom loved the open space and the freedom to run around. Lily loved it too, though she liked to watch Grandpa work most of all. Everything was peaceful until a loud engine noise broke the calm. At first it was distant, a low rumble that grew louder with every second. Tom stopped and looked toward the road. "What's that?" he asked. Lily clutched his sleeve. Grandpa Joe's eyes narrowed slightly as he followed the sound. Far down the dirt ranch road, a black Jeep appeared. Dust swirled around its wheels, and two men could be seen inside, dressed in dark uniforms with shiny badges pinned to their chests. They waved their hands, shouting something that was hard to hear from this distance. Grandpa Joe straightened, gripping his cane a little tighter. "Well, that's strange," he said quietly. "No one comes this far onto the ranch unless they have a reason." The Jeep bounced over the uneven road, and the men drove with confidence, as if they owned the place. Tom frowned. "Grandpa, who are they?" "I don't know," Grandpa said, his voice calm but firm. "They look like some sort of officials, but I don't remember any notice from a homeowners association. This road is private, and we are careful about strangers here." The Jeep was now closer, moving slowly as if testing the area. Tom felt a flutter of worry in his chest. Lily hid behind his legs, peeking cautiously at the approaching vehicle. The men jumped out when they reached the middle of the ranch road. They had clipboards in hand and wore sunglasses even though the sun was not very high. "We are from the Homeowners Association," one of them called. His voice was sharp and commanding. "You are violating the rules and we are here to enforce them." Grandpa Joe stepped forward slowly, his cane tapping lightly against the dirt road. "This is private property," he said clearly. "You are trespassing." "What rules are you talking about?" The men did not answer directly. Instead, they waved their hands, insisting that they had authority. Tom could feel his heart beat faster. He glanced at Grandpa Joe and saw no fear in his eyes. Grandpa's calmness made Tom feel a little braver. Lily whispered, "Grandpa, they look scary." Grandpa Joe gave her a small smile. "Appearances can be misleading, Lily. Sometimes people act big to hide their mistakes. Stay close and watch carefully. We will handle this without trouble." The Jeep's engine rumbled again as the men got back inside. They drove a few steps forward, stopping right in the middle of the road, blocking the path. Tom and Lily exchanged worried glances. "What if they don't leave?" Tom asked. Grandpa Joe scratched his beard thoughtfully. "Then we will guide them out, in a way they will remember," he said quietly. Tom did not know exactly what Grandpa meant, but he trusted him completely. Grandpa had always found clever solutions to tricky problems, and Tom knew this would be no different. The men stepped out again, this time with a more serious look. "You need to comply immediately," one said. "This property is under HOA rules. You are in violation and you must stop what you are doing." Tom felt his stomach twist. "Grandpa, what do we do?" Grandpa Joe did not panic. Instead, he looked around the ranch road, noting the hills, the small ditch near the edge, and the old wooden planks lying near the barn. He noticed the large rocks that were often used to mark the path. A small, confident smile appeared on his face. "We wait for the right moment," he said. "And then we act carefully. Always remember, cleverness is stronger than anger." The men in the Jeep laughed, thinking they had control of the situation. "We have authority," one of them said, pounding his clipboard against his palm. "Move aside or face consequences." Grandpa Joe's eyes twinkled slightly. "Consequences?" he repeated. "You have already found them, but not in the way you expect." Tom watched as Grandpa turned and walked slowly back toward the barn. He carried nothing at first, but then returned with a coil of rope, a few wooden planks, and a couple of large rocks. Tom's eyes widened. "Are we going to use these?" he asked in a low voice. Grandpa Joe nodded. "Yes. Sometimes the best way to handle foolishness is to use your mind instead of your anger. Watch carefully. You might learn something important today." Lily peeked around Grandpa's leg, curiosity replacing fear. "What are we going to do?" she whispered. Grandpa Joe crouched slightly, arranging the rocks near the side of the road. He placed the wooden planks carefully across the small ditch, making sure they would support weight but also create a gentle obstacle. The rope was tied to one of the large rocks, hidden just behind a small hill so the Jeep drivers could not see it. The men in the Jeep were now laughing and pointing, completely unaware of the clever setup Grandpa had created. They thought they were in control, but Grandpa Joe's plan was ready to show them otherwise. Tom and Lily crouched behind a small fence, trying not to giggle. "Grandpa is amazing," Tom whispered. "I never thought of using things like this to stop trouble." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly but remained serious. "Patience, timing, and clever thinking are more powerful than yelling or rushing. You will see soon enough." The Jeep moved forward again, its wheels crunching on the dirt road. The men were confident, but the hidden planks and rocks began their work silently. The moment of surprise was coming, and Grandpa Joe had made sure everything was in place. Tom felt a mix of excitement and worry. He had seen Grandpa handle tricky situations before, but never like this. This was not just a lesson in cleverness. It was a lesson in protecting what belonged to their family, while staying calm and respectful. The ranch, with its golden hills and peaceful morning, was about to witness a clever trick that would make the intruders think twice before returning. And Tom and Lily would see firsthand how intelligence and patience could outsmart anyone who tried to cause trouble. Grandpa Joe stood tall, watching the Jeep approach. His hands rested on his cane and his eyes were sharp as ever. "Remember," he said quietly to Tom and Lily, "sometimes the best strength is in your mind. Anger can make you blind, but cleverness will always find a way." The Jeep continued down the road, unaware of the surprise waiting for it. Tom and Lily held their breath. The ranch was quiet again, except for the soft rustle of grass and the sound of the Jeep's engine. Grandpa Joe had everything ready, and the lesson about cleverness, patience, and protecting what is yours was about to unfold. The morning sun climbed higher, casting light over the golden fields. Everything seemed peaceful, but the ranch road now held the promise of a story that Tom, Lily, and Grandpa Joe would never forget. The trick had been set, and soon the fake HOA men would learn that their confidence could not match Grandpa Joe's clever thinking. The Jeep idled in the middle of the ranch road, kicking up small clouds of dust that drifted lazily in the morning sun. The two men inside glanced around, their sunglasses reflecting the golden hills. They seemed confident, as if this road and everything on it belonged to them. Tom and Lily crouched behind the fence, hearts pounding, watching every movement. Grandpa Joe leaned on his cane near the edge of the road, watching the men carefully. He did not shout or wave his arms. He knew that showing anger or fear would give the intruders power, and he was not willing to hand that advantage over. Instead, he took a slow breath and observed the Jeep, the men, and the ranch road. Every detail mattered in situations like this. One of the men stepped out of the Jeep, clipboard in hand, his boots crunching against the dirt. "You are violating HOA rules," he said, voice firm. "You need to comply or face consequences." Tom felt his stomach tighten. "Grandpa, they sound serious," he whispered. Lily held onto his arm. "I don't like them," she said softly. Grandpa Joe smiled faintly but did not speak. Instead, he walked slowly toward the Jeep, cane tapping lightly on the ground. "This is private property," he said. "You are trespassing. Please explain what rules you think we are breaking." The man laughed, a sharp, confident sound. "We have authority," he said. "You cannot ignore us. Move aside immediately." Grandpa Joe's eyes twinkled and he leaned slightly on his cane. "Authority?" he repeated. "This is a private ranch. No HOA sends people here without notice. Perhaps you are mistaken." The second man got out and joined the first. They looked around, pointing at fences and barns. "We are in charge of enforcing regulations in this area," he said. "Do not challenge us. You could face fines and legal action." Tom's jaw tightened. He knew Grandpa would handle this, but he also knew that Grandpa's way was clever, not forceful. "Grandpa," he whispered, "and what do we do now?" Grandpa Joe crouched slightly and examined the ground near the Jeep. He noticed the old planks near the small ditch and the rocks that lined the side of the road. He nodded to himself. "We wait for the right moment," he said quietly. "Patience is key. Do not rush. We will handle this the right way." The men were growing impatient. One of them kicked a small stone with his boot. "Why are you hesitating?" he demanded. "You have no right to block this road." Grandpa Joe straightened. "This road belongs to my family," he said calmly. "I am showing you respect by speaking clearly. You will leave peacefully or you will find it difficult to move your Jeep." The men laughed, clearly thinking that Grandpa was bluffing. They believed their badges and uniforms gave them power, but Grandpa knew that appearances were not always what mattered. He motioned subtly to Tom and Lily to stay back. Then quietly, Grandpa Joe began arranging the planks across the ditch. He moved swiftly but carefully, making sure the materials were positioned perfectly. The rope was tied to one of the large rocks hidden behind a small hill where the men could not see it. He tested the planks with his cane, ensuring that they would support weight but also guide the Jeep in the direction he wanted. Tom and Lily watched with wide eyes. "Grandpa is amazing," Tom whispered. "I never thought of using the road like that." Lily nodded. "It's like a trick," she said softly. Grandpa Joe did not answer. He continued his work, carefully placing the rocks in positions that would block the Jeep if the men tried to move carelessly. Every placement was intentional, designed to guide the intruders off the road without harming them. The men began to notice Grandpa moving around. "What is he doing?" one of them asked nervously. "He can't just set up obstacles like that." Grandpa Joe straightened and called out, "These obstacles are here to protect my property. You can leave now and go safely or test them and learn the hard way." The men looked at each other. They were confident, but a small flicker of doubt crossed their faces. They did not know that Grandpa Joe had planned everything carefully. He had spent years on the ranch learning every hill, ditch, and hidden path. This knowledge was now his advantage. One of the men muttered under his breath, "We can't let him block us. We have authority." "Authority is meaningless without respect," Grandpa Joe replied calmly. "You have neither here. Think carefully before you move." The Jeep's engine started again and the men attempted to drive forward. The front wheels rolled onto the planks and the vehicle shook slightly. The planks were placed just right, forcing the Jeep to slow down and adjust. Grandpa Joe watched carefully, cane in hand, making sure the men would experience a small challenge without danger. Tom felt a thrill. "It's working," he whispered. Lily clapped her hands quietly. "Grandpa is clever." The men began to panic slightly. They tried to reverse, but the rope tied to the rock prevented the Jeep from moving backward. The situation was unfamiliar to them, and their confidence began to falter. Grandpa Joe's calm presence only added to their confusion. "Move aside," one of the men shouted. "You can't stop us." Grandpa Joe took a step forward. "I am not stopping anyone. I am showing respect for private property. The choice is yours. You can leave or you can struggle unnecessarily." The men looked at the Jeep, the planks, and the rocks. They realized that moving the vehicle would take more effort than they expected. They did not anticipate this clever trap. Panic began to replace confidence. Tom and Lily hid behind the fence, feeling a mix of excitement and admiration. Grandpa Joe's strategy was simple but brilliant. He used patience, clever thinking, and knowledge of the land instead of shouting or fighting. The men debated quickly, their voices rising. "We should just move forward," one said. "No, wait. This is tricky. Maybe we should leave," the other replied. Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "Sometimes thinking carefully before acting is the most powerful choice," he said aloud, though he spoke to no one in particular. The Jeep engine roared again as the men made a cautious attempt to move forward. The front wheels slipped slightly on the planks and the vehicle tilted toward the small ditch. Grandpa Joe stayed calm, watching every movement. He did not touch the Jeep but guided it silently with his placement of the planks and rocks. Tom whispered to Lily, "They have no idea Grandpa planned this." Lily nodded, wide-eyed. "They look confused and scared," she said. "It's like magic." Grandpa Joe chuckled quietly but remained serious. "Magic is patience and knowledge combined," he whispered to the children. "That is more powerful than force." The Jeep finally stopped, unable to move forward or backward easily. The men jumped out again, frustrated and confused. They looked at the planks, the ditch, and the rocks, trying to understand how a single man could create such a situation. Grandpa Joe leaned on his cane, calm as ever. "You are on private property," he said. "You may leave safely now or struggle and waste time. The choice is yours." The men exchanged glances. Their confidence had vanished. They had underestimated the ranch, the terrain, and Grandpa Joe's cleverness. Slowly, reluctantly, they returned to the Jeep, realizing that leaving peacefully was the best option. Tom and Lily watched in relief. "Grandpa is amazing," Tom said quietly. "He didn't even touch them, and they are stuck." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "Cleverness and patience work better than anger or force," he said. "Always remember, a calm mind and careful planning can solve problems faster than rushing in blindly." The Jeep engine started again, and this time the men drove off slowly, keeping careful distance from the obstacles Grandpa had set. Tom and Lily cheered quietly behind the fence. The ranch road was peaceful again, and the golden morning sun seemed brighter after the tense encounter. Grandpa Joe turned to the children and nodded. "This is a lesson you will remember. Protect what belongs to you, but use your mind, not anger. Cleverness is your strongest tool." Tom and Lily ran to Grandpa, hugging him tightly. "You were amazing, Grandpa," Tom exclaimed. Lily nodded vigorously. "We learned so much from you." Grandpa Joe laughed softly. "Today you saw how careful planning and patience can outsmart those who rely only on appearances. Always think before you act and respect the land and those who protect it." The children smiled, feeling proud and inspired. The ranch was quiet once more, the golden fields stretching peacefully in every direction. They knew that this morning would be remembered not just for the Jeep or the fake HOA men, but for the clever lesson Grandpa Joe had taught them. The sun climbed higher, spreading warm light over the rolling fields of the ranch. Tom and Lily stayed close to Grandpa Joe, their eyes never leaving the Jeep that had caused so much tension earlier. The men in the dark uniforms had tried to leave after the initial standoff, but Grandpa Joe had noticed something. Their confidence was fragile, and they were likely to return if they thought the ranch road was unprotected. Grandpa Joe scratched his beard thoughtfully. "They will come back," he said quietly. "Some people cannot resist what they think is easy. But we are ready for them now." Tom's eyes widened. "Are we going to stop them, Grandpa?" Grandpa Joe nodded. "Yes, but we will do it smartly. We do not need to fight. Cleverness will handle this. Watch and learn." Lily held her hands together. "I hope they don't get hurt." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "They will be safe. This is about teaching them a lesson, not causing harm." The Jeep appeared again at the far end of the ranch road, its engine rumbling like a distant storm. The two men were back, their faces showing more determination than before. They believed they could intimidate the family and continue down the private road. Tom crouched behind a fence, holding his breath. Lily did the same, her small hands gripping the wooden rails. Grandpa Joe stepped lightly, his cane tapping softly on the dirt. He moved with confidence and calm as if he owned the road, which he did. The Jeep stopped, and the men stepped out. They shouted, waving their arms. "We told you, this road is under HOA regulations. Move aside or face consequences." Grandpa Joe did not flinch. He looked at the Jeep, then at the men, and finally at the children. "You are on private property," he said firmly. "The choice is simple. Leave now, or find yourselves guided out." The men laughed, shaking their heads. "Guided out? What do you mean?" one of them demanded. Grandpa Joe pointed subtly to the wooden planks across the small ditch and the large rocks placed carefully on the side. "If you move forward without care, your Jeep will experience a gentle obstacle. You can leave safely, or test the road and learn the hard way." Tom whispered to Lily, "I think Grandpa set a trap." Lily nodded wide-eyed. "It's like a puzzle for the Jeep." Grandpa Joe crouched slightly and adjusted one of the planks, making sure it would support some weight but direct the Jeep carefully toward the rocks if the men drove carelessly. He then tested the rope tied to the large rock, ensuring it was secure and hidden from view. Everything was set and the trap was ready. The men climbed into the Jeep, laughing nervously. "We will show them authority," one said. "We are in charge here." The engine roared as they drove forward. The front wheels rolled onto the first plank. The Jeep shivered slightly and dust flew into the air. The men tried to maintain control, but the planks directed the Jeep slowly toward the small ditch. Grandpa Joe's careful placement ensured that the vehicle could not speed up or move unpredictably. Tom and Lily held their breath. "It's working," Tom whispered. Lily giggled quietly, unable to contain her excitement. The men's laughter faded as they realized the Jeep was not moving smoothly. The vehicle tilted slightly on the planks and the tires gripped unevenly. One of the men shouted, "What is happening? This road is tricky." Grandpa Joe stepped forward calmly. "This is how the road guides those who forget respect," he said quietly. "Every path has rules and every person must follow them." The men tried to reverse, but the rope tied to the large rock caught under the Jeep. They were now trapped between the planks and the hidden rope, unable to move forward or backward easily. Panic began to replace confidence. Tom whispered to Lily, "They are stuck. Grandpa did it." Lily nodded. "I can't believe it. They look so confused." Grandpa Joe stood firmly, cane in hand. He did not shout or threaten. He only watched, calm and confident, letting the clever setup do the work. "Sometimes," he said to the children, "you do not need force. You only need patience, careful planning, and respect for the land." The men in the Jeep jumped out again, frustration written across their faces. "Move this obstacle. We can't leave," one shouted. Grandpa Joe's eyes twinkled. "You may move nothing. You may choose to leave safely or you may struggle. Your choice." They looked at the planks, the ditch, and the rope. They tried to pull the Jeep back, but the hidden rock held the rope tightly. They tried to push forward, but the planks guided the tires toward the ditch, making it impossible to move without precision. Every movement reminded them that they had underestimated the ranch and Grandpa Joe's clever thinking. Tom whispered, "They are panicking. Grandpa is amazing." Lily nodded. "I have never seen anyone plan something like this before." Grandpa Joe crouched slightly, observing their every move. "Notice," he whispered to the children, "that calm and knowledge win over anger and force. They are panicking, but we are steady. That is the difference." The men shouted and argued with each other. "We can't just leave like this," one said. "Yes, we can," the other replied reluctantly. "This is too tricky. Let's go slowly before we get hurt." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "Sometimes the wisest choice is to admit a mistake and leave. That is a lesson many people learn too late." Finally, the men climbed back into the Jeep. They tried to move carefully, but every turn and adjustment reminded them that the road was under the control of someone who knew it well. Dust rose slowly from the tires, but their movement was cautious and hesitant. Tom whispered to Lily, "They are going to leave now, I think." Lily nodded. "Yes, slowly. Grandpa made sure they cannot rush." The Jeep slowly moved forward, guided by the planks and the careful placement of rocks. The rope stayed hidden, reminding the men that one wrong move could make things much more difficult. Grandpa Joe stayed calm, walking beside the Jeep, but far enough to be safe. The men finally cleared the tricky section of the road. They slowed, to a stop, faces flushed with embarrassment and frustration. Grandpa Joe leaned on his cane, eyes steady. "You may leave safely now," he said calmly. "Respect private property and think carefully before returning." The men did not respond. They started the Jeep and drove off slowly, keeping their distance from the obstacles. Dust followed the vehicle like a fading shadow. Tom and Lily ran to Grandpa, cheering quietly. "You did it, Grandpa," Tom exclaimed. "They are gone." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "They are gone for now," he said. "But remember, cleverness and patience are stronger than anger. You can solve many problems by thinking carefully and using the resources around you." Lily hugged her grandfather's arm. "You taught them a lesson without hurting them." Grandpa Joe nodded. "Yes, and that is important. We must protect our home and property, but we do it wisely and with care. Force is not always the answer." The morning sun shone brighter as the ranch returned to its peaceful rhythm. The golden fields stretched endlessly, the barn stood quietly, and the animals continued their routine as if nothing had happened. But Tom and Lily knew that today would be remembered for a long time. They had seen Grandpa Joe handle a tricky situation with intelligence and calm, showing them the power of clever thinking and careful planning. Tom looked around the ranch road and whispered, "I hope we never meet anyone like them again, but if we do, Grandpa knows what to do." Lily smiled, holding her brother's hand. "Always," she said. Grandpa Joe chuckled softly. "Yes, always. But remember, the most important thing is to stay calm, observe carefully, and think before acting. That will protect you more than any obstacle on the road." The Jeep was gone, but the lesson remained. Tom and Lily felt proud, not only of their grandfather, but of the clever way he had handled the situation. The ranch was safe, and the golden fields seemed even more beautiful after the morning's excitement. Grandpa Joe looked at the children, his eyes warm but serious. "Remember this day, not for the Jeep, not for the men, but for the lesson. Cleverness, patience, and knowledge can solve many problems without harm." Tom and Lily nodded, understanding the importance of what they had witnessed. They had learned more than just a clever trick. They had learned how to face challenges calmly and wisely, protecting what mattered most. The morning continued, the ranch alive with sounds of animals and the wind in the grass. But the memory of the clever trap, the fake HOA men, and Grandpa Joe's calm guidance would remain with Tom and Lily forever. The ranch road was quiet again, but the tension in the air remained. Tom and Lily stayed close to Grandpa Joe, eyes wide as they watched the Jeep's tires caught between the planks and the hidden rope. The two men inside the Jeep had tried everything they could think of, but every move seemed to make them more stuck. Grandpa Joe leaned on his cane, observing carefully. His calm presence was steady, giving the children confidence. "Remember," he whispered to them, "anger and frustration only make problems worse. Patience and clever thinking solve them." The men in the Jeep shouted at each other, pointing at the planks and rocks. "We can't move forward," one yelled. "Maybe we can go backward?" The other suggested, panic in his voice. Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "The road teaches lessons to those who are careless," he said softly. "Sometimes the best lesson is to guide people without raising a hand." Tom whispered to Lily, "They are going to learn the hard way. Grandpa planned everything perfectly." Lily nodded. "It's like a puzzle, and Grandpa already knows the answer." The men jumped out again, running their hands over the Jeep's tires and examining the ground. They looked around, confused by how the vehicle had become trapped. Every attempt to move backward or forward failed. The rope hidden under the dirt and rocks prevented them from gaining control. Grandpa Joe walked slowly toward them, cane tapping lightly. "You are on private property," he said calmly. "You may leave safely if you respect the land. Otherwise, you will remain stuck until help arrives." The men exchanged nervous glances. Their confidence had vanished, replaced by confusion and fear of embarrassment. They had believed that their uniforms and badges gave them authority, but the reality of the ranch, the clever trap, and Grandpa Joe's calm mind had shown them otherwise. One of the men shouted, "We have authority." "You can't stop us." Grandpa Joe's eyes twinkled. "Authority without respect is nothing," he said. "You learned that the hard way. Think carefully before acting. The choice to leave safely is still yours." Tom and Lily crouched behind the fence, holding their breath as the men debated their next move. "They look scared," Tom whispered. "Grandpa is amazing," Lily nodded. "I never thought someone could trap a Jeep like this without hurting anyone." Grandpa Joe took a step closer to the Jeep, still calm, watching the men fumble. "Notice how rushing or forcing things only makes problems worse," he whispered. "This is why patience and clever planning matter more than shouting." The men tried to reverse again, but the rope pulled tight against the rock hidden behind the hill. Their hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but the Jeep remained partially trapped. Every move was slow and careful, and they were clearly frustrated. Grandpa Joe leaned slightly on his cane, eyes focused. "Sometimes the road itself guides people," he said. "If they respect it, they leave safely. If they don't, they learn lessons." The Jeep shook slightly as the men tried to drive forward again. The planks beneath the tires tilted and guided the vehicle toward the ditch. Dust rose in thin clouds as the vehicle rocked gently, and the men shouted in alarm. Tom whispered, "They are stuck for real now. Grandpa's plan is perfect." Lily nodded, excitement mixed with admiration. I can't wait to see what happens next. Grandpa Joe did not rush. He had set everything carefully so that the Jeep could be guided safely off the road. He knew the men were panicking, but he wanted them to understand that cleverness and respect mattered more than anger and force. One of the men muttered, "We should call for help. Maybe someone can get us out." Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "Sometimes asking for help comes too late," he whispered. "Preparation and respect prevent problems before they happen." The men argued, confused about what to do next. They looked at the rocks, the planks, and the rope, realizing they had underestimated the ranch. Their confidence had disappeared, replaced by frustration and embarrassment. Grandpa Joe tapped his cane lightly on the dirt. "You may leave now," he said calmly. "Take your time, follow the path carefully, and you will leave safely." The men looked at each other, nodding reluctantly. They climbed into the Jeep again, moving cautiously. Dust rose slowly from the tires as they carefully maneuvered, guided by the planks and rocks. Every turn reminded them that the road and the ranch belonged to someone who knew it perfectly. Tom and Lily held their breath, watching the Jeep inch forward. "They are really leaving now," Tom whispered. Lily nodded, excitement in her eyes. Grandpa's plan worked perfectly. Grandpa Joe walked beside the Jeep, keeping a safe distance but observing every movement. His calm and steady presence reassured the children and reminded the intruders that they were outmatched by clever thinking, not force. The Jeep finally cleared the tricky section of the road, the planks guiding it away from the ditch. The rope stayed hidden, ensuring that one wrong move could have made things even more difficult. The men drove slowly, keeping their distance from the obstacles, realizing that they had been outsmarted without any physical confrontation. Tom whispered to Lily, "They are gone." "Grandpa did it again," Lily smiled. "I can't believe it. He didn't even yell and they left." "That's amazing." Grandpa Joe leaned on his cane, looking at the golden fields and the quiet road. "Cleverness and patience win more battles than anger," he said softly. "You can solve many problems with a clear mind and careful planning." The children ran to him, hugging him tightly. "You were amazing, Grandpa," Tom exclaimed. Lily nodded. "We learned so much from you today." Grandpa Joe chuckled softly. "Remember this day," he said. "Not for the Jeep or the men, but for the lesson. Protect your home and property, but do it wisely. Cleverness and patience are stronger than shouting or rushing." The golden sunlight shone brightly over the ranch, highlighting the barns, fences, and rolling fields. Everything seemed peaceful, but the memory of the clever trap, the fake HOA men, and Grandpa Joe's calm guidance would remain with Tom and Lily forever. Tom looked around the ranch road, breathing in the fresh air. "I hope we never meet anyone like them again," he whispered. Grandpa Joe smiled. "If we do, remember what you learned today. Calm observation, clever planning, and patience are your strongest tools." Lily held her brother's hand. "Always," she said softly. The Jeep had disappeared down the road, leaving behind dust and a lesson the intruders would not forget. Grandpa Joe's clever thinking had shown the children how intelligence, calmness, and knowledge of the land could protect what mattered most. Tom and Lily walked back toward the barn, excitement still in their steps. They had seen firsthand how Grandpa Joe had outsmarted the fake HOA men, protecting the ranch without a single harsh word or action. Grandpa Joe followed slowly, cane tapping lightly. "Remember," he said to them, "every problem can be solved without anger if you observe, think carefully, and plan ahead. That is more powerful than any obstacle on the road." The morning continued, peaceful and bright. The animals grazed quietly and the breeze rustled through the grass. But Tom and Lily knew that the day had been special. They had witnessed courage in the form of calm thinking, clever planning, and patient action. The ranch road, with its golden fields and gentle hills, had been the stage for a lesson in intelligence and respect. Grandpa Joe had guided the fake HOA men out without confrontation, teaching the children that strength did not always come from force. Tom whispered to Lily, "I will never forget this day." Lily nodded. "Me neither. Grandpa is the smartest person I know." Grandpa Joe smiled, leaning on his cane. "And now you know how to handle challenges wisely," he said. "Always think before acting, respect what belongs to you, and use your mind before using your hands." The ranch returned to its calm rhythm, the golden sunlight shining over everything. But the story of the clever escape, The trapped Jeep and Grandpa Joe's clever guidance would remain in the children's hearts forever. The Jeep was gone, leaving only a faint trail of dust on the dirt ranch road. The golden sunlight of the late morning bathed the fields, the barns, and the hills in a warm glow. Tom and Lily ran to Grandpa Joe, their faces bright with excitement and relief. "You did it, Grandpa!" Tom exclaimed, throwing his arms around him. "They are finally gone!" Lily nodded eagerly, holding her brother's hand. "I can't believe how clever you were. You didn't even shout or hurt anyone, and they left the ranch safely." Grandpa Joe chuckled softly, leaning on his cane. "Yes, they left safely," he said. "And that is important. Protecting your home does not require anger or force. A calm mind and careful planning can solve many problems that brute strength cannot." Tom looked at the golden fields and the neatly placed planks and rocks. "It was like a puzzle, Grandpa," he said. "You planned everything perfectly." Grandpa Joe smiled, adjusting his hat. "Every obstacle has a solution if you observe carefully and think ahead," he said. "Sometimes people rush and make mistakes. Others, like those men, believe appearances give them power. Today, they learned a lesson in respect." Lily glanced at the Jeep tracks fading into the distance. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked nervously. Grandpa Joe shook his head. "Probably not. People usually remember lessons when they are handled cleverly. They now know that this ranch is protected, and it is better to respect boundaries than to test them." The children walked with him toward the barn, still talking excitedly. Tom's mind was racing with questions. "Grandpa, how did you know exactly where to place the rocks and planks?" Grandpa Joe smiled faintly. "Years of knowing the land help. Every hill, every ditch, every slope tells a story. You must listen carefully to the land, observe, and act with patience. That is how problems are solved wisely." Lily tilted her head. "So being smart is stronger than being loud or scary?" Grandpa Joe nodded. "Exactly. Cleverness, patience, and planning are stronger than anger or force. If you use your mind, you can guide situations safely and successfully." Tom looked around the ranch road. "It feels so peaceful now, like nothing happened." Grandpa Joe chuckled. "Yes, peace returns when problems are handled wisely. But the lesson remains. Today was more than just moving a Jeep. It was about understanding how to face challenges calmly and effectively." The family spent the next hour cleaning up the road and checking the fences. Tom helped move the planks back to their storage area, while Lily collected some stray rocks near the edge of the road. The air was filled with the smell of fresh dirt and hay, and the golden sunlight made the ranch look more beautiful than ever. Grandpa Joe watched the children work and spoke gently. "Remember, protecting your home and property is important, but rushing or getting angry will not solve problems. Observation, planning, and calm action will always succeed in the long run." Tom wiped his brow and nodded. "I understand, Grandpa. Today I learned how to be clever and patient." Lily smiled. "And how to help without being scared." Grandpa Joe's eyes softened as he looked at them. "You both learned well. Courage is not only about facing danger but about thinking clearly and acting wisely. Today you witnessed cleverness in action. You will carry this lesson for the rest of your lives." The sun climbed higher, and the ranch seemed to glow even brighter. The animals grazed peacefully in the fields, and the wind whispered through the tall grass. Everything seemed calm, but the story of the morning's clever escape would remain in Tom and Lily's hearts forever. Tom looked at Grandpa Joe, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Grandpa, do you think the men will tell others about what happened?" Grandpa Joe smiled. "Probably, and that is fine. People learn from experience, even if it is through embarrassment. They will remember that appearances can be deceiving, and that careful thinking always wins over force." Lily giggled softly. "It feels like we had an adventure today, but we were safe the whole time because of you, Grandpa." Grandpa Joe nodded, leaning on his cane. "Yes, we were safe. That is the most important thing. Being clever does not mean taking risks unnecessarily. It means using your mind, your knowledge, and your patience to handle challenges safely." Tom looked around the ranch once more. I think I understand now. The Jeep and the men were just a test, and we passed it by staying calm and following Grandpa's plan. Grandpa Joe smiled. Exactly. Every challenge can teach us something valuable. Today's lesson was about respect, planning, and cleverness. You both did well observing and learning. That is why this ranch will always be a safe place. The family spent the rest of the morning preparing lunch outside. The smell of fresh bread and stew filled the air. Tom and Lily helped set the table near the porch, talking quietly about what they had witnessed. I never want to meet people like those men again, Tom said. Grandpa Joe laughed softly. You may never meet them, or you may. But remember what you learned. A calm mind, careful observation, and clever thinking will guide you through any situation. Force and anger may seem strong, but they are temporary. Cleverness lasts. Lily looked at the fields, golden and peaceful. I feel proud of today. Grandpa taught us something important and we were part of it. Grandpa Joe patted her head gently. Yes, and that is why knowledge and patience are more valuable than shouting or fighting. Today you both saw how challenges can be handled wisely. As the sun moved toward noon, the family finished their lunch. The ranch was quiet, the golden field stretching endlessly. Tom and Lily felt a sense of accomplishment and security, knowing that their home was safe and that Grandpa Joe's cleverness had protected them. Grandpa Joe leaned back in his chair, cane resting nearby. Today was a good day, he said. Not because of the Jeep or the men, but because we handled the situation with intelligence, patience, and care. That is the true victory. Tom nodded, looking thoughtful. I understand, Grandpa. Cleverness is stronger than force, and patience can solve many problems. Lily smiled and squeezed his hand. And you taught us to stay calm no matter what happens. Grandpa Joe chuckled softly. Yes, my little ones. That is the most important lesson of all. Protect what you love, but do it wisely. Respect your home, the land, and each other. That is how life becomes safe, peaceful, and meaningful. The ranch returned to its normal rhythm. The animals moved. Slowly across the fields, the wind whispered through the tall grass, and the sunlight made the barns glow like gold. The morning's events were now a story the family would remember forever, a tale of cleverness, patience, and respect. Tom looked around, feeling proud. I will always remember this day, he said softly. Lily nodded. Me too. Grandpa is the smartest person I know. Grandpa Joe smiled warmly. And now you both know how to face challenges wisely. That knowledge is more valuable than any tool or badge. Cleverness and patience will guide you safely through life. The sun climbed higher, and the ranch basked in its warm light. Tom and Lily ran to the fields, playing among the golden grass, feeling safe and happy. Grandpa Joe watched them, satisfied that the lesson of the morning had been learned. The story of the fake HOA men and the trapped Jeep would remain in the family's memory for years, not as a tale of fear, but as a story of cleverness, calmness, and careful planning. Tom and Lily had seen firsthand how intelligence could protect what mattered most, and how patience and observation could guide people through even the trickiest situations. Grandpa Joe leaned back in his chair, eyes resting on the horizon. The ranch was peaceful again. The golden sunlight bright and warm. Today had been more than a challenge. It had been a lesson in life. And for Tom and Lily, it was a lesson they would carry forever.